It's a long-awaited car that's finally been unveiled to the public, but it's just a part unveiled. Nissan Kicks is finally here. It's the Indian version, not the international version, and there are some big important changes, which of course I will take you through. But more importantly, Nissan has finally showcased how the Kicks will look like from the outside. But as you can see from the really dark tinted windows, it's just an exterior unveil for now. The interior will be showcased at a later date, and of course the launch of the car will be in January, as always expected, and it will take on the likes of the very popular Hyundai Creta. That said, for now, let's talk about how the car looks in general, and let's talk about the changes that the car has as compared to the international version, because although the color is the same as the international showcase version, the grey and the orange, a very definitive Kicks color, there are quite a few changes. Now, let's start with the obvious. The car is bigger for India. So I'm going to quickly look at the figures and tell you the Nissan Kicks for India is longer, it's wider, it's taller, and it has a longer wheelbase too. So for example, the international version 4295mm in terms of length, this one 4384, so considerably longer, noticeably longer too. With again the same thing, 1760 for the international version, 1760mm versus this one, which is 1813mm, height 1590mm versus 1656mm, and the wheelbase, which is of course the most important for India because we do love our interior space, 2610mm versus 2673mm. Now that we're done with these facts, I'm going to put my phone away and actually show you what the changes are. So although the car looks very similar, at a glance there are quite a few changes. So let's start with the headlamp in general. Now the daytime running light, which is right here, is the same. So is this little cluster here, the indicators, but then the changes really start. The international version in some cases does, but mostly does not get this sort of very detailed, very aggressive looking headlamp. It's the same with the grille too. Very similar looking, but there are some small changes which actually do make a difference. So the honeycomb structure, for example, is different. It's the same with the bumper. The international one gets a little cut in the bumper here, which makes it a little more aggressive. This one actually looks a little nicer because it's got a little more smoothed out, a little more sort of extended front end. Same with the front on the bottom too. The international one, a lot of plastic cladding on the bottom that sort of covers the fog lamp and this little vent. In this one, the bumper is completely different. It's got a very distinctive little vent on the sort of top here, a little fog lamp on the bottom, and it's very split. So while the international version has a plastic cladding running all the way around, this one doesn't. I think this one actually looks a little nicer. Let's go on the side here. The wheels are the same. It's actually the only part that's absolutely the same on the international version and this. 17-inch wheels on this, 17-inch wheels on the international version, same design too, but that's where the differences end. The mirrors in this case mounted on the door, the international spec mounted right here on the sort of frame itself. Again, roofline, distinctive orange color, yes, but the way the roofline extends into the C-pillar is completely different. This one is a lot more flat, it's got a little chink at the end. It's nicer looking in the international version because that's a little more plain. Now both the cars again do look same, but there are changes. So for example, even the little bottom on part here on the plastic cladding here, this thing on the international version, this little chink you see at the back here, that one on the international version is on the front. So Nissan has put in a bit of thought and changed little bits and pieces that do make the car a lot more palatable for the Indian market, and it certainly does look like an SUV, and that's the most important part. Now let's go around the back. Now excuse those crazy lights because I know there's a bit of glare, but we're still going to try and do our best. Tail lamp's pretty much the same as the sort of global version, and very distinct sort of lip on the tail lamp here, which again is the same as the international version, and it's got LED lighting pattern right across here and goes all the way around the side. Big changes, of course, are on the tailgate. Surprisingly, they've actually done a lot of metal changes to this car as compared to the global version too. So while the global version has a very distinctive sort of cut that goes across the tailgate, this is a little more curved, and of course the bumper is a little more extended because it's a longer car. The big difference though is the fact that, again, just like the front, the use of plastic claddings on the bottom of the car have been reduced, so you get a little more paint area, a little more sort of grey area like the body color paint as compared to the plastics on the bottom here. Overall, Nissan had promised us that the Kicks will look like a proper SUV and not like a crossover. And I think in terms of living up to that expectation, they have really promised us something, and they've delivered, because this doesn't look like a crossover in its purest sense. It does look like a nice, butch, chunky SUV, which is very aggressive. It's very flat. It's got all these lovely flat surfaces to sort of have that road presence which is there. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, launch will still be in January. Prices are going to be competitive. I expect it also to be a great car to drive, because of course the chassis on the Nissan in the past, it's the same platform as the Terrano and the Duster, and those have always been great cars to drive. So We're going to look forward to driving this very soon, and we of course going to look forward to the launch and the prices, which will be unveiled only in January 2019.